What is a council like this without every commissioner for youth and sports present? I think it's very important. We had a virtual meeting at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. That will have been ordinarily sufficient for the year to pass by. But at the ministry, we felt that the virtual meeting was not sufficient enough because we had very important critical matters that we needed the council to deliberate upon. Luckily, we had an opening up of the space, and we felt it was important to take advantage to convene and have these sessions we're having. So once again, I welcome you to the, I think, 21st or 22nd council meeting here in Asaba. Now, so we're here. I know that you had technical sessions yesterday. I thank you so much for the deliberations, especially for the quality of the deliberations you had, because I got feedbacks. I had an opportunity to look at the draft report. I decided that the technical session must take place independently and focus on the two critical agenda items, which are the sports industry policy and the National Sports Festival. Those are the two agenda items. But of course, there are about three other items tangential to whatever we discuss, because our council meeting is only once a year. So while we deal with these two issues, we must be at liberty to bring up one or two or three issues that we think are important and that this council can quickly take a decision on. Let me just speak to two of such issues that I think we should engage our minds. The first is, after 14 to 15 months of being youth minister, if there's something I've done exceptionally well, is to read extensively about sports development in this country, but also benchmark against other countries. Look at where we are, look at where we want to be, and then study what they did to be able to get there. Which is why we spent the last 10 months driving the sports industry policy, simply to create a business model around our sports. A country of 210 million, abundance of talents, yet we only have a sports industry, if you can call it a sports industry, that generates 350 million annually. Then you look at Jamaica, you look at Brazil, you look at South Africa, you look at Canada, and I can go on and on. You look at Kenya. They run into hundreds and billions. So I realize we have not started. Secondly, at the doorsteps of the National Sports Festival, 5 days, we had an indefinite postponement. That postponement did not come easy. It turned out to be one of the toughest decisions I had to make. Before then, no sector had shut down because of COVID-19. But then we had a sports festival, big national event about to happen. So we met with the authorities, NCDC, the health ministry, and I went along with the health minister, Minister of State, to brief Mr. President. And after that briefing, it was decided that we should postpone Edo 2020. I think that we took a right decision in a timely fashion, because shortly afterwards, we saw every critical segment shutting down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Edo 2020 really engages my mind, not because His Excellency is here this afternoon, but because of the power, the passion, and the opportunity it gives our youth. I know we have the National Youth Games, but Edo, the sports festival, for us at the ministry, is so critical because of the opportunities afforded our athletes, home-based and foreign-based. It's supposed to be a precursor to the Olympics. In fact, we call it the Nigerian Olympics. So we desire that this takes place. I'm glad that the virtual council meeting we had also agreed that we'll look at how to have this year. So we'll have to decide on the modalities, the timing, the arguments in support of it, and then we can go forward, Edo State Government, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, and meet with the PTF, and if possible with Mr. President, because he has to personally approve, so that we can have the sports festival. Like Mr. President always tells me, keep the youth busy. I think if you can hold a sports festival, that would be a perfect way to keep our youth busy, especially coming out of the NSF protest. Sports is very engaging, and I hope that we'll be able to achieve that. We have spent a year, but we have not completed the template of how to connect all the states to a major vision on sports development beyond the sports festival and, of course, the National Youth Games. We think that beyond those two major sporting events, we need to have a national template that drives sports development, not just competitions, but also that gives us a template of network that is replicative. So what happens in Lagos State, to some extent, whether in football or other sports, is replicated in Taraba or Kano State. We started something in March. We had a pilot. We wanted to introduce Unity Cup in football, called the National Unity Cup. We started with Oyo State as the guinea pig. We had 14 federal constituencies. That is grassroots. So we had the Oyo Unity Cup. It lasted 6 weeks. It was on football. The finals played at the Liberty Stadium in Ibadan. And we saw the passion, we saw the talents, we saw the way it resonated to the grassroots. Some of the boys that came to play in Liberty Stadium in Ibadan had never been to Ibadan before, or even played at the stadium. The plan is to have Kano Unity Cup, Kwara Unity Cup, Delta Unity Cup, focused on football. But also, the state is able to decide which sport it wants to base its Unity Cup on. Secondly is the Principal's Cup and the Headmaster's Cup. We've never had the Headmaster's Cup, and the ministry decided that as part of our return to grassroots sports, we should have the Headmaster's Cup. I've met with the ministers of education. We have about 64,000 primary schools in the country, at least from their database. And that is massive. The plan is that we just take a batch of 10,000 primary schools, divvy it up by the number of states and FCT, and see how we can have the Headmaster's Cup at the primary school. That speaks to catching them young. In any case, most of us, when we were kids, ran barefooted on the tracks. We played football barefooted, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. So as a country, we must focus on other sports. Football is a team sport. We've had an edge in athletics. So in a deliberate way, we must seek to develop other sports. For the Olympics, we've chosen 11 sports. For the sports National Principals Club, we've chosen 5. That will be expanded as we go along, but this is the first time we're doing it. And we will need the support of every single state because we have the template ready. Ideas Plus and the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development will be reaching out to you. A timetable will be put together. A lot of details and work will go into it. We need the states to buy into it and also get the support of their governors. On my part, I intend to visit at least 2 states in each geopolitical region to be able to sell these 2 major ideas to the governors. This country deserves a sports industry policy, a business model around the sports. We're committed to that. And I think this council will make history if it eventually delivers to this country a sports industry policy benchmarked against what we have in other parts of the world. It will not stand the test of time if that policy does not create a value chain that can create jobs for our youth, add to the gross domestic product of the country, and also create a new revenue stream for the government. But above all, it will not stand the test of time if it is held up against other similar sport policies and ours is found to be deficient.
Well, we just finished the 22nd council meeting for sports. A communique will be issued shortly, in a couple of minutes. That communique contains all the information you want on the National Sports Festival and other key issues regarding sports development in the country. Well, you're talking about the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund. It's a 75 billion naira fund for 3 years, so it's 25 billion per year. This year we're getting the half-year funding because it was approved in July, so we have just 12.5 billion to be able to give out to our youth. The modalities are clear. The criteria for selection is on our website. There's a link. It's easily accessible. We've received over 1.5 million applications so far. So I urge our youth to apply, to submit their proposals, to go for the training, and then we can get them to become entrepreneurs.